Hi, everyone. So we're going to do part two of Boston Harbor and at the Boston Tea Party. And we're going to see exactly what has to be a continuance on. So with that being said, we had seen that they had made a lot of natural gunpowder stuff for their like reconnaissance, anything like that. Uh, by going on the trails, because it wasn't just pyrite that they were doing. So when you went to the Knight of Pentacles, and since it's in reverse, they would say you can't hold fourth, and you can't fort right, nor fourth night, nor fortnight. And that's when we like unravel it to today's times. It was the games. It really was the games. It would mess you in a way where you would have dysentery. So when the Eight of Swords came in a lament way, it would actually be served in the taverns as like a porridge, like a whole scenario of here's some protein, here's something, because you had a hard time swallowing, hard time keeping it down. And it really was to break up teamwork. The Knight of Wands would come in and they would try to intercept as much as they could because it just wasn't like correct, like nothing was healthy that was being served. And that was supposed to be like the final relief, which is the Ten of Swords in reverse, but really it was worse. It was such a deception that you can't even true lament, like true sorrow at all. Now, it was served a lot more as time went on, and they're showing me like 1720s to about 1757. And it was during celebration time, and it became ritual. So when you bring it back down to Tun's Tavern for the birth of the United States Marine Corps, they had nothing left monetary value, nothing. And they were struggling. They couldn't understand it. And they're like, what do you mean you can't understand it? Like all this was normal. And they would say something like that. And it became a hypervigilance. Like they're seeing the ghosts, they're seeing the spirits, they're drunk, they're just look at the way they're walking, they're intoxicated, let's bring them in. And there'd be, yep, there it is. There it is. It was such a type of master puppeteer of mind control, of mind, M-I-N-E, that you couldn't see it. And then it brings me back to a type of explosiveness to cause a relief of struggle, of a daunting. But how does it get to taxation and representation? It's such an all over the place. And that's what happens when they use ordinance with different curses, spells, and hexes. It causes such a line of transference to explode the situation and control it and tie it within, that it actually is such an ill justice, a continuance on of continuum. It causes recklessness into the next life because studies have shown that into the next life, as they were studying the concentration camps, that those with chronic illnesses can actually say, I potentially was in a concentration camp because of chronic diseases, because they used all things that were meant to explode. It was so heinous. Now, the Five of Swords really comes in, and it's supposed to be, and they would do something like that. And then it would be a halt stop with the Knight of Wands. It's hard to explain it. So when they had a like a new offer, and then they started misspelling everything. You can say it was a true gamble, it was true inhibition, it was true everything that was meant to be evil up to being devil like. You can't even win with the Ace of Swords in reverse. It is a spark out, and they would do something like that that they've been showing me a lot because I've been snapping my fingers a lot in mediumship. It had a lot of hidden motives, a lot of hidden motives where the Queen of Cups, you couldn't balance emotion or intuition or instinct, anything like that at all. And they're literally moving me around, showing me the magician like was so trickery. It wasn't even magician at all. And they made money off of it. It was a point of putting it anywhere within. So taxation without representation, one Englishman is showing me from that time period really was not true. They weren't represented. And it's like you have to find the hidden lines. You have to find the hidden lines. That is where judgment comes in. So judgment actually means this. This was the type of judgment, and it has such a stone face. And I'm a psychic that does like a take on like how they acted. So I have a lot of feeling before I do a psychic reading where I actually am very stone like. That's what they were showing. Where before it was you couldn't even get your words out. It was so bad in a time of rest, of like calm peace. That is where someone would sit proudly with the Queen of Wands to the King of Wands in reverse to the dishonor. You can't even make it up. It was similar but same like Salem. It had to do with a well planting, a well everything that they were like boiling down to. And when I ask about the energy of the Old Norse church, it went to a ghost like scene scenario. And I hear everyone thinks they're dead, but they're not. It was very scary. It's so spiritual. They would struggle and they would say, go find them. And you couldn't, never mind being blinded because your musket was not loaded correctly. It would backfire and cause a type of blindness. And so it was just chaotic. It was just truly chaotic. That's all it was. There was still a lot of foresight, and they're showing me the prefrontal lobe. So, how is it like this? It really is boiling down to such a theme to how it is here in America, to potentially globally. And it is a type of selling that is ushering in this waiting period, this pause. And you just don't know what the selling is. So we're going to go over to the Akashic Tarot and see what happens. So they're showing me with a couple of cards, some earthbound spirits. And I seen like after someone had passed away, some like of a gastric distress, like a GERD. So they really went to a lot of natural stuff during that period once it happened. Now, with it, it would actually flood in and it would show me that they would go to the creeks and they would go to the rivers. But the bird's nest, when they would look up, it really was emptiness. And they're showing me hollow. They're pointing at themselves. They're like, I'm hollow. I'm gone. And that is why it was so pivotal with the Revolutionary War, is because they were able to accurately document it and have judicial council and meetings to say we have constitutional bill of rights, we have a amendments, we have law, we have now a president, we are now free. And it was against prophecy because everything was reflecting. They're showing me down in Independence Hall right now that it was flowing, flowing. A lot of meetings were ill-fated. They were not to be meant. But by watching everything and everything that they had learned from lore and the Federalist Papers and every document and paper that went out, they literally learned a lot. It was so bad with like the trenches, the karmic trenches, you couldn't even understand it at all. It really was caught in ruins. So with that being said, the way the energy is tonight, we're just going to end it early. We're going to do a part 3 and we will check in, but that was a lot of energy because it was so bringing out explosiveness. You couldn't even understand. With that being said, have a good night and we'll talk to you soon.